Hello there, welcome to the Empowered Marriage Podcast. My name is Helen Harrison. I'm the host of this podcast, and you are listening to podcast. You think I would know, podcast 95. Sound like I'm at bingo, 95. Anyway, today I've got a fantastic guest. Her name is Jenny Binks. And the reason I've asked Jenny Binks onto the Empowered Marriage Podcast is I want you to hear her story. I want you to hear what she has lived and how she has been able to find that empowerment inside of herself to accept the card that she's been dealt. I first met Jenny at yoga. She would come in with her cup of tea at 5:25 a.m. and we just started chatting. I loved her energy, her vibrancy. A very dynamic woman. We would sort of speak the same language around personal growth, and it's just, very, very inspiring. So welcome, Jenny. Fantastic to have you on the Empowered Marriage Podcast.
Thank you, Helen.
Yes. And so can you tell the listeners just a little bit about yourself? I mean, you've been married 33 years for a start, which is a long time.
Yeah, it is. You're right. Yeah, look, thanks, Helen. And you say inspiring. Well, ditto, right back at you. And that's exactly how we connected. It was just beautiful and very natural. And thank you for having me today. I feel very grateful for that. Yeah, a little bit about, I just work with teens, and I'm really grateful for that too. Love their energy, love their resilience. Whatever they're dealt, they get through it. Well, certainly when they're young anyway. I'm sure things come back and visit them later on, but hopefully with a few strategies, things become a bit easier. But love that work. And at home, yeah, three adults now. They've all gone off. And Pete, who was diagnosed with, basically an acquired brain injury after non-specific encephalitis in 2018, came out of the blue. He'd been perfectly well up to that point. So yeah, it was a shock, to say the least. Yeah.
Yes. So when you say a shock, I mean, that is a crisis of a whole nother level, because the man that you've married is going through this horrific event.
Yes.
And so it's take us back, not that, I want you to take us right into it, but initially that shock and where you went and how did you deal with it?
Look, I went definitely spiraled.
Yes.
For a while, just in total shock. Well, at first I didn't really believe, a bit like, most grief, didn't really believe, thought, oh, I'm sure he'll get through it quickly. Then it was like, oh, he's not getting through it quickly. And then it was like, oh my goodness, he looks like he might die. Like he was just going downhill so rapidly after. Yeah. Wow. Okay. And then with the kids, one son was still overseas and he was going, Mum, everything okay? Oh, don't come back. Don't go back. That'll be fine. That'll be. And suddenly, I think you better come back. They're really not sure if he'll survive. And he was, yep. And I just said, we're going to love bomb him. Just let him know how important he is. He doesn't seem to be able to listen or hear. Doesn't seem to even recognise us right now. That's when he was at the point. And I still remember my sister coming and we just laid our hands on him as he lay an immobilised blob in the bed and shutting our eyes and just energy, just sending great love. And then the kids came along and did the same, just told him, even though he seemed to be non-responsive, but Dad, we love you, we know, we need you to know how important it is that you survive, that you stay. Don't choose to leave yet. You haven't done your work on this earth. All those sorts of messages, just letting him know how important he was. And he came back. He came back miraculously. And there was another thing I did, and I think we started talking about it, but I used to listen to podcasts on the way to the hospital on the way home.
Yes.
And one of them was Wayne Dyer talking about how he had healed from leukemia. And it gave me an idea of something that I would try, because I thought if Wayne Dyer's tried it, I'm going to give it a go. And I did. It was a bit wacky, and I won't tell you what it was, but I know my son at the time, I said, do you think I should try this? He said, Mum, you do whatever you can because
Yes.
Dad's on his way out. You do it. So I did, and incredibly, on the Friday, this thing sort of, I guess, this out of the world thing, alternate
Yes.
thing got happening. And on the Monday, he sort of literally, it was like a wake up. And he just, good morning, Michael, to the young registrar. And Michael walked out of the room and went,
Oh, wow.
I don't know what happened. Yeah.
So was that at about the, what, 8-week mark? Like, when did that happen?
No, that was probably 10
Wow.
weeks. Yeah. And then he went into rehab, and I had to fight for him to get, like, he wasn't right.
Yes.
And he definitely had some severe brain injury and cognition concerns, speech, language, recessive and expressive language and all sorts of things. But yes, I had to advocate hard for him to go to rehab, to the Bureau brain injury rehab, and that got him in there, and he had a month of intensive help there, so that was really good. Yeah.
So going back a little bit, Jenny, I get a sense that it was very much touch and go there for a time. And for you had this self-belief and this self-trust in you. And I love what you said about love bombing. And you rallied the troops, not that you really had to rally them because they would have been there.
Yeah.
And you just unconditionally, vibrationally, you connected with him, and all of that love and that strength. They feel it, don't they? He would have felt it. You can't not.
And it's interesting, Helen, because he says that he felt he was going to the other side, and he said there's a voice going, "Yes, it's not your time. It's not your time." So, and at what point that happened, whether that correlated with when, we don't know.
No.
But he just remembers that feeling that he was on his way.
Wow.
There's
so much more at play, isn't there? We're just a tiny blip, but it's I love what you said. So in your email, you sent me a little bit about you, because I think it's so important that you have your own self-care with when you're going through something like this. So actually, before I go to the self-care, because I love what you have listed, I just want to go back a little bit to when you go through such a life-changing event, there's certain stages. I mean, it's not all structured, but a lot of it is a grief and a loss. And so how were you personally able to sort of, maneuver through all of that while also being there for Pete?
Look, I think initially Helen went into massive action. So wanting to find out what I needed to do with the social worker around all sorts of things to do with his future as well as mine, all sorts of things to do with financially how we'd cope. We've suddenly lost an entire income, and we still had one daughter at home who was dependent and at uni. There were, what I would do, because suddenly I was being told I was going to be his carer. No matter what happened, it looked like that was a definite. And I was like, oh, I didn't sign up for this. In the January of that year, we just discussed how, oh my goodness, we love travel and we'll always travel, and let's just, at least do a couple of days a week, even till we're 75, so we make sure we keep traveling and having fun. And that was our discussion in January. And then July 9, here we are in a whole different world. So shocked, but then super busy to just try and grapple with all the stuff that I needed to do. Even had to do a QCAT thing around, or, had to do become power of attorney and all those other things done. And and then QCAT to control, because they sort of say with brain injury, they often have overconfident but lack of competence. So they think they're okay, but they're not. So but some pretty outrageous decisions sometimes, particularly financially. So controlling that. So there was a lot of
many moving parts.
Many moving parts.
How did you deal with your emotions?
Oh, shut them down, but no, a while shut them down, but then
and then what did you do?
Helen, went swimming. I loosened and released my emotions by going swimming as often as I could, as in not laps. But
Yes,
just
not down the
anybody,
road.
any body of water that would have me, I was there and I was immersed, and it was beautiful.
I love it.
Yeah, washed it all away, and I've always felt like that about water. You never regret a swim. No,
No.
no. You know,
And
even walking
so
on the road.
it's 3 years on, aren't we?
Mm-hmm.
We're 3 years on.
4 years this July.
Oh, wow. So it's a long
Yes.
time.
It is.
What does today look like now? You are his full-time carer.
I am, but I am allowed to work for 2 days a week.
Yes.
And I do maintain that. But during those 2 days, I have a lot of things organised for him, like his speech therapy, his occupational therapy, and his psychology happen on a 3-weekly basis. So he has that every Monday.
Yeah.
Has a little volunteer position, helping feed little primary school kids at one of the primary schools with it's a not-for-profit organisation. Brilliant.
Yes.
Lovely work in the area. So he works with them. I connected them up with him, or him up with them early on. He also was doing he was doing Circle of Men at a local aged care place, but then he outlived that, or they outgrew. I'm not quite sure what, but that didn't fit after a while. So I said, no point being unhappy.
Yes.
So back from that. But he also now has a fabulous male carer on a Tuesday who he goes and does stuff with. You know, things like, there's a lot of friends have kind of gone into the ether because, you know, they've got to live their own lives. So this beautiful Phil takes him out to golf and takes him, you know, they do stuff together, like they'll do some gardening work together. It's just beautiful with him, really kind, really, and always leaves Pete as the boss. And he just does, you know, he's a heart man. He's a beautiful match, really. I'm so grateful for Phil.
Yes. Because that's one thing that strikes me with you, is you come from a place of gratefulness.
Oh,
that's how you live your life, isn't it?
Try to, Helen. Try
Yes.
to. I like anyone fall into holes at times, but yeah, mostly, yeah.
And so what do you do when you fall into holes? Because we all do. What do you do? Look, shall I go to your list?
Yeah, well, and I've done, honestly, I have done so much work on me, Helen.
Yes. Can you tell the listeners about that? What does that mean? Because some people think, what do you mean I've done so much work on me? What does that mean?
Well, I guess growing me into a better person. So since Pete got sick, I think I've actually become a better wife, partner, friend to him than I. Yeah. And my inner workings, you know, I guess my soul stuff. I really need to do some work on me, and it's really interesting. And I almost wonder sometimes if the universe didn't send this as my reminder. You know, you're going to do that inner work. Well, guess what? You haven't. So we've just come to remind you that you need to do it. You need to do it now. So, yes, things like, and I have done a lot of work on me since he got unwell. And things like it. And I know Stacey and Paul Martino always talk about the drunk monkey, you know, in the past, maybe, you know, for example, I was talking to him and he appeared to, you know, go off on a tangent that had nothing to do with what I was saying. I might be sort of like, oh my God, he's just ignoring what I'm saying and he just doesn't care. And I'd go off on my tangent of what I thought that was all about. And now I go, stop that. That's your drunk monkey talking. Come back to, you know, this man loves you and all he wants to do is serve you as well as he can. But right now, his mind is elsewhere. But it doesn't mean anything more than that. His mind is elsewhere.
Wow.
So what?
Yeah.
He's doing the best he can. So just you calm yourself, girl.
Yes.
Go do something else for 5 minutes. Come back when you're over the 50% mark. Meaning, so not in the judgment, the criticism, the negative stuff.
Yes.
You come back when you're back in your love frame, you know, coming from your heart, not, you know, when they say
love it.
Yeah.
So you do a lot of self-talk and you notice your own triggers.
Try to. Not always.
Self-soothe yourself. Oh, I know all about that. And you self-soothe yourself. Because you also wrote here, I use mindfulness, positive self-talk, gratitude. I shift my focus and energy when I'm in a downward spiral.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes. And I notice it. very much, and particularly with Pete now, because I know once he gets, I forgot to say he now has epilepsy as well, but if he gets highly agitated, that will set off a seizure. So I'm very aware that if we have sort of an argument that causes him, distresses him at a soul level, he feels, oh my goodness, I'm not good enough, or I'm depleted, or then it can often set him off on a panic attack, or downward spiral, and possibly end up in a seizure. So it's so important to keep him above that line as well. So I really have, not just for myself, but for Pete, it's just, if I do get cross, and then I've just got to go back. I'm really sorry, mate. That was so uncalled for, and I know that's not what you meant. And let's just put that behind us and let's move on into a better space. So just always trying to catch the crap before it gets worse. Sorry.
But it is true, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
That's another whole level, having epilepsy, and if it's brought on by stress. So I mean, you've got something there that you just can't let it go to that level that a lot of us do. I mean, a lot of us, we can be quite unconscious, particularly in our relationship, but you can't be.
No,
not at all.
Yeah.
So with what does it mean to you to be an empowered individual, personally, for you?
I guess, Helen, is deliberately choosing, choosing to behave in certain ways and respond in certain ways that are going to empower me rather than disempower me.
Beautiful.
Yeah, just I guess when my thoughts start going off on the drunk monkey path of, the negative stuff.
What do you call it, a drunk monkey?
Drunk monkey. It's sort of like the madness.
I like that, because it is true. It's a bully, and it takes you away, doesn't it?
It is, and it's a Stacey Martino saying, and it's just.
I like it. I might keep that one. Yeah.
And trying to make sure that I'm not responding from below the 50% mark.
Yes.
Make sure I'm come back into the heart space before you respond, even when you cross. Walk away from it. Just say, Pete, I'm not going to respond now because I know it's not going to come out well. I'm going to walk away, take 5 minutes, do some breathing. Just maybe, and the other day I said, I'm going to have a swim, because I know that if I have a swim, and I came back in a whole different, with a whole different attitude after I had a swim. It just cleared away all the rubbish, and I was able to come back with a much better mindset.
And would you say that is a learned skill, and it's a practice daily?
Yeah, it's a thing that I naturally drew to when I was younger, but I didn't know really why. But now I see it with all its. And when Pete was sick, I just went, I've got to get to the water. I've got to get immersed. I've got to get under it, and it was just magnificent. And I would go, any time of the day, but I'd go and have a swim.
That is beautiful.
Yeah.
And so anybody listening to this, and they're in a situation where they have become their partner's carer, and where the dream, because you would have had to grieve the dream of the future that you had, what would you say to somebody who's in this situation, who's struggling with it? The dream that they had, it's different now. Any words of advice that you would give them?
Oh, I guess I'd never, ever dare to give advice, but I guess just say what worked for me.
Yeah, words of wisdom. Yeah,
just words for me, and maybe it will help someone else, I hope, but coming from your heart, your head. So avoid being in your head, because that's where your drunk monkey takes hold, because your head is all about survival and protecting you, but doesn't always put you in a great space. It keeps you in a fear space rather than a heart space, and fear is never a good place to come from.
No.
And so coming back into your heart, almost putting your hand on it, and I know that cortisol will rise, etc., when you do put your hand on your heart, and just you're coming to a whole other way of thinking and being if you do from that space. And I just see that as so good. And reminding yourself that what but this is Helen, and this is another Stacey one, but whatever you've got a white knuckle grip on, whatever you believe, with your whole heart that you're right about, assume you're wrong. And when I first heard that, I went, huh?
I like that.
I loved it. She said, of 4
Yeah.
billion people on this planet,
Yes.
what made you dare to think that your opinion was the right one?
Yes. Who's this person you're talking about?
Stacey Martino. She runs a program called Relationship You, but and she talks about relationship transforming. But I just love that.
Yes.
To me has resonated.
Yes.
And a Marcy Shimoff one that I just heard this morning was, when the way they catch monkeys is they put a little, I forget, coconut, and she said it's awful, but they create a hole just big enough for the little monkey's hand, but they put a green banana in it, and they grab that banana so hard that's how they get caught, because they get caught their arm. But if they just let go of the banana,
Yes.
it's so important, their little hand could go out. And I thought, how often do we as humans grab the green banana and hold on so tight but get trapped by the very thing that we think we need?
Totally. Isn't it? Yeah, I love that. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I love those visions of yep. And so watching my state is so, the
Yes.
Tony Robbins stuff of being aware of my
Yes.
state, my psychology, my thoughts, and the meaning that I give to the stories I create in my own head.
Yes.
And that, focus. Where's my focus going? Is it going down the rabbit hole, creating that highway to hell?
Love it. I can see why you work with teenagers.
Yeah,
definitely, because there's so much passion there as you talk. We're out of time. I would love to keep talking, but I think this will be so helpful to so many people, because they'll take a snippet out of it, because as you know, it's you're searching, and podcasts are a brilliant way to empower yourself. Yeah.
Absolutely, Helen.
So I am so grateful. Thank you very, very much. Yeah. Yes.
Thank you.
So look, anybody who's listening, you can go onto my website, powerofchange.com.au. I'll also have show notes connected to this on iTunes. So hunt me down, and I'll see you on the next Empowered Marriage podcast. See ya.
See ya. Thank you.